One must live like a brilliant flame and burn as much as possible. Even if the embers are cold at the end, they are much better than a bland flame.
After the bullets penetrated the two doors, they hit the tools on the shelves, causing them to clatter, but there was nothing Gao Yang and his companions could do to stop the people outside from shooting. When the gunfire ceased, people outside were shouting something in Arabic, which Gao Yang couldn't understand well, but he heard at least 3 or 4 distinct voices. Malik whispered to Gao Yang.
They are demanding we open the door, or they threaten to set the building on fire.
Malik's speech mixed English with some Urdu, but Gao Yang was able to grasp the gist. He shook his head and replied quietly.
Don't believe their lies. If they come in, they'll kill us all. We have to protect ourselves now. Do you have a gun?
No gun. But what if they really set fire to the place?
Bob said quietly.
Don't believe them. Whatever you do, don't open the door, or we're truly dead. They won't set fire to the building. What do you think they are? Thieves taking advantage of the chaos, or simply armed militants out to kill?
Malik hesitated before replying.
I don't think they want to rob us. If they were thieves, they wouldn't show up now, but why would militants target our shop? Could it be they are looking for you?
Gao Yang shook his head.
No, we just arrived here today. We don't know anyone. You could ask them what they want.
With renewed courage, Malik shouted something in Arabic. The response from outside became more aggressive with the sound of the door being kicked and continuous shouting. Malik turned to Gao Yang.
They say someone saw Gaddafi's mercenaries here and want me to hand you over. I think they are talking about you. Also, they want money. I guess they must be looters.
Gao Yang and Bob's foreign appearance had brought trouble, leaving Gao Yang feeling helpless and apologetic. He quietly said to Malik,
I'm sorry. It seems they are targeting us. It looks like we've caused you trouble.
Malik shook his head.
We are friends. Friends shouldn't say such things. I'll tell them they've made a mistake.
Malik spoke again in Arabic, but just a few words in, the response from outside was gunfire. Then Gao Yang smelled a strong scent of gasoline. Just as he feared the worst, a weaker burst of gunfire came from outside, followed by screams. Gao Yang was unsure what had happened, but soon after, groans were heard at the doorway, which quickly fell silent again. Amidst the smell of gasoline, there was now also the stench of blood. After exchanging looks, Gao Yang and Malik said in unison,
They've been killed.
At that moment, a voice came from inside the building.
Malik, what's happened?
Gao Yang turned in surprise and saw an old man with sparse silver hair making his way down the stairs from the second floor. The man appeared to be in his 80s but was descending at a fairly steady pace. He looked around the shop in confusion. The old man paused halfway downstairs, pointing to the chaotic scene and asking,
Who are you people? Malik, what has happened here?
To Gao Yang's amazement, the old man was white. He didn't know what to say and just stared at the man in surprise. Malik quickly ran up the stairs, assisting the elderly man.
Go back up, it's too dangerous down here. Remember what I told you? Yes, that's it. It's chaos outside now. You need to stay upstairs. These two are taking refuge in our shop. There's been shooting outside, many people are dead. Some tried to break in, but now they are all dead.
Malik spoke quickly and disjointedly, but the old man understood, nodded, then spoke to Gao Yang and Bob.
It seems you'll have to stay here for a while. It won't be safe outside anytime soon. Please, make yourselves at home.
After greeting Gao Yang and Bob, the old man told Malik,
You did well not to let those bastards inside. We have to protect our own. With that kind of scum, you need to be tough. Come with me, we have some things to take care of.
The old man then turned and made his way back upstairs. Malik gestured to Gao Yang and Bob to be careful and followed the man upstairs. Bob and Gao Yang exchanged puzzled looks until Bob could no longer hold back.
What does the old man intend to do? Never mind that. We need to find a way out, brother. We've got to leave this place.
Gao Yang sighed.
I want to leave, too, but you've seen the situation outside. I think leaving now would be a death sentence.
Bob.
I need to call my dad to see how he's doing. I have to tell him what's happened, and I hope he's not in danger. Damn it, Why does this always happen when we go out?
Bob paced anxiously, and just then, the old man and Malik re-emerged, with Malik carrying a long box. Out of respect for the elder, Gao Yang and Bob stood at the bottom of the stairs. After the old man descended, he shook hands with Gao Yang and Bob.
Gentlemen, my name is Fedor von Brauchich. Welcome to my store. You can stay here as long as you need, until the very end of time. If you need anything, just let me know.
The old man spoke English well, but upon hearing his name, Gao Yang realized the elderly man was a German, and likely a nobleman because the von in his name indicated a noble origin. Fedor.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now let's see about dealing with those villains.
Fedor moved to the cash register, sitting behind it, and signaled Malik to place the box on the counter. Then, with a key, Fedor opened the long wooden box. Gao Yang had a feeling the box contained guns, and when Fedor opened it, Gao Yang nearly cheered. Although the contents were in parts, they indeed were guns and ammunition, including a rifle and at least one pistol. Fedor took out one part and began to wipe it with a trembling hand.
Old buddy, after so many years, it's time for you to come back into action.
Gao Yang recognized the Mauser Kar 98K rifle by its stock and muzzle, a renowned firearm from World War II. The pistol next to the rifle was the famous P-38. All parts, whether the rifles or pistols, were coated with thick gun oil, very well preserved, looking almost new. Even the bullets were wrapped in a thick layer of grease, completely rust-free. From the ZF-41 scope and Zeiss 6x30 binoculars, Gao Yang surmised that Fedor had been a sniper. This gear made it quite clear. Watching Fedor assemble the Mauser 98K piece by piece and finally attach the scope, Gao Yang couldn't hold back his curiosity.
Mr. Brauchich, were you a sniper?
Fedor looked at Gao Yang, silent for a long time before nodding.
German Wehrmacht, North African 164th Division.
Fedor began, but didn't finish his thought, merely shaking his head and repeatedly pulling the bolt-action rifle. Then Bob asked carefully,
So, were you a Nazi?
Fedor looked at Bob and declared,
I am not a Nazi. I was a soldier who fought for Germany. But I ran away before the African Corps surrender in 1943. A friend told me that my parents were executed for sympathizing and hiding Jews. They had sheltered my girlfriend in the basement. My brother died in Stalingrad. After hearing this news, I fled. So, I am just a deserter.
As he spoke, Fedor loaded the bullets into the magazine, then slid the bolt closed, chambering around.
After the war, I went back to the Ruhr. My house was in ruins, my sister was killed in a bombing, her body was left buried in the rubble. My brother died in Normandy with the 12th SS Panzer Division, Hitler Jugend. He was 15 years old, a fervent Nazi. He believed our parents' execution was well-deserved, and he wanted to clear the shame my family and I had brought to him. In the end, he got his wish.
After sharing his story and aiming the rifle, Fedor continued.
Gentlemen, after listening to this old tale, you should know my views on the Nazis.
Fedor held his Kar 98K and aimed towards the window, remaining in position for a long time. However, Gao Yang could see that Fedor's hands were shaking nonstop. The rifle's muzzle couldn't stay still. After a while, Fedor set the rifle on the counter with a long sigh.
I'm 90 years old now, too old. My eyes can still see clearly, but my hands can't keep steady. This won't do. Malik, you must do it yourself.
Malik looked distressed and said,
Sir, I've never fired a gun before. I'm not a coward, but I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to hit someone standing right in front of me.
Such a pity. I hope the sound of gunfire will scare those thugs away. It's a real shame. I've been running this store for over 40 years, and you've worked here for 12, Malik. I intended to leave it to you. Now I just hope those thugs don't burn it down.
Gao Yang interjected.
Mr. Brauchich, if you don't mind, may I use this rifle?
You're just a guest. It's not your responsibility to protect my home. You must understand, firing a gun will bring you trouble.
I'm not afraid of trouble, and I already have enough of it. Besides, we in Huaxia have a saying, people in the same boat help each other. Given the situation, Mr. Brauchich, we need to work together to survive.
Fedor nodded slowly and asked.
Do you know how to use a gun?
Bob interjected.
Sir, I've never seen anyone with better shooting skills than him. He won't disappoint you.
Gao Yang laughed and said.
My marksmanship is decent. I've never used a Kar 98K, but I'm quite familiar with it. However, there's a problem. I'm very confident in close-range shooting, but I have no experience with targets over 200 meters.
Clearly, we don't need to shoot at targets that far away, so your lack of experience won't matter here. The rifle is yours now. Treat my old friend with care.
Fedor picked up the rifle from the counter and solemnly handed it to Gao Yang. Gao Yang understood the bond a true sniper has with their rifle, so he received it with great respect. As he took it into his hands, he felt as if he wasn't just receiving a rifle, but also a legacy.
Although it's not something to boast about, even though it was for an unjust war, I still must say, I killed 113 people with this rifle. Don't let it be dishonored in your hands, young man.
Shocked by Fedor's military record, Gao Yang was overwhelmed with excitement at receiving the rifle from a real World War II sniper. The rifle Gao Yang held showed signs of use and shared the same sense of age and history as its owner. But that very sense of history gave the seemingly outdated rifle an understated but lethal aura. As a military enthusiast, Gao Yang had always been interested in World War II firearms. Now, to hold an authentic, historically significant rifle in his hands made his blood boil with excitement. Fedor smiled and pointed to the box.
My opinion is to give all resources to the most suitable person to maximize their effectiveness. So, assemble the pistol and clean the remaining bullets. That's your task now, you've got work to do.
Gao Yang nodded vigorously, put the rifle on his back, and began cleaning each pistol part with a clean cloth. Under Fedor's guidance, he assembled a P-38 pistol. Nobody objected to Gao Yang using both guns. Malik couldn't shoot, and after seeing Gao Yang's ability, Bob certainly wasn't going to compete with him. While Gao Yang meticulously assembled the pistol, Malik's phone suddenly rang. Malik took out his phone, answered the call, and after a brief greeting, spoke urgently in Arabic. The call was short, and after hanging up, Malik looked anxious.
My friend told me the shooters are foreigners, likely mercenaries. They've taken over the restaurant as a stronghold and killed everyone inside. Only my friend managed to hide in the storage loft without being discovered. He warns us not to let anyone in. These mercenaries will kill anyone they see.
Is it your Chinese friend?
Malik swallowed nervously.
Yes, it's him. I have to find a way to help him. I can't just watch him get killed.
Learning of a compatriot in danger, Gao Yang stopped his work and asked,
Is it that Chinese restaurant on the street corner? That's a strategic location, controlling 2 streets. No wonder it's been taken by mercenaries. But how can we save him?
Malik knew his question was rhetorical. Rescuing someone from a position occupied by armed militants was a job for a special operations team, not them. After contemplation, Fedor spoke.
I like that boy. We should think of something. Follow me upstairs. We can see the restaurant's attic from there and assess the situation.
Bob suddenly said.
Mr. Malik, may I borrow your phone? I need to make an important call.
Fedor, Gao Yang, and Malik went upstairs, leaving Bob to guard the entrance and try to reach his father. Malik and Gao Yang went to Malik's bedroom upstairs, which, like Fedor's, had a view of the street below. Rushing to the window, Malik pointed and said,
See that attic on the rooftop? That's where my friend is hiding.
As Malik was about to draw the curtain, Gao Yang stopped him and drew the heavy fabric back, leaving only a slim opening. Then, standing behind the curtains, he opened the sliding glass window just enough.
This is enough. No need to open the curtains entirely.
After setting up his position, Gao Yang raised his binoculars to observe the attic that Malik had mentioned. From his vantage point, Gao Yang could see most of the attic, but not the door or the stairwell leading to the second floor. The houses along the street appeared very similar, all 2-story older constructions not too far from each other. As Gao Yang pondered his options, Fedor, who was sitting on the bed, said softly,
We are about 260 meters away from Huaxia City Restaurant. It's not much further than your preferred firing range. If you're confident, I have an idea.
Please share your idea, Mr. Brocic.
Fedor shrugged and spoke with a casual air.
These houses are all similar, so the restaurant's layout would be too. If we go to the rooftop, we'd have an excellent view and control of the entire area. If it were me, I'd go up there and shoot anyone who dares show their face. It's as simple as that. Malik's friend is in the attic, right? If no one can get upstairs, he won't be in any danger.
Fedor's idea was bold. He might have had the confidence to control the entire shooting range, but Gao Yang dared not because he had no experience with long-range shooting. After hesitating, Gao Yang shook his head.
No, I'm not confident that I can shoot everyone who emerges.
Fedor nodded.
I was just saying what the old me would do in this situation. We don't need to do that now. The boy just needs to stay hidden until the mercenaries leave. However, just to be cautious, I suggest you familiarize yourself with the surroundings on the rooftop and try firing a few shots.
Malik agreed.
Chuti is safe for now. We don't need to alarm those who have trapped him. If the mercenaries leave, Chuti will naturally be safe.
Hearing Malik's words, Gao Yang felt the name sounded incredibly familiar, but Malik's pronunciation in Chinese was a little unusual, so Gao Yang wasn't sure.
That friend you mentioned, what's his name? I mean, do you know how to pronounce his 2 characters?
Oh, his name is Chuti. That's how you say it. But his nickname is Rabbit, and that's what his friends call him. He prefers his nickname over his actual name. He has glasses about this tall, always smiling, looks kind of silly, and seems a bit lecherous. He's from Hebei province in China, right?
God, you know him?
Gao Yang could scarcely believe his ears. Malik's Chute was his friend, a very good friend, someone he had met playing war games, which developed into a close friendship. Even the nickname, Rabbit, was something Gao Yang had given him. Against all odds, to encounter one of his best friends in a foreign land was something Gao Yang found hard to believe, but now he was convinced that Malik's Rabbit was indeed his friend.
Let's go to the rooftop right away. I need to see for myself. Malik, is it safe to call Rabbit now, or would that be too dangerous?
Malik shook his head.
I don't know his situation. He just said a couple of words and hung up. I think we'd better not call him.
All right, I'll go to the rooftop with Gao Yang. Malik, there's no need for you to go. Help the young man downstairs. Let's go, move.
After speaking, Fedor got up shakily and climbed to the rooftop with Gao Yang's assistance. Once on the rooftop, Gao Yang cautiously peeked out from the stairwell entrance, observing his surroundings. Seeing no one on other rooftops, he signaled it was safe for Fedor to come up. Fedor, following instinct trained by years as a sniper, quickly pointed out 4 high points likely to be occupied by snipers. Gao Yang used his binoculars to check each point. With no snipers in sight, Fedor signaled for them to crawl to the edge of the roof. The rooftop was surrounded by a half-meter-high parapet wall, which could serve as cover. Crouched down, Gao Yang used his binoculars to examine the attic of the restaurant, which was the focus of his concern. Although he couldn't see the door to the attic, he could see the stairway leading up to the roof. Seeing the attic clearly filled Gao Yang with a mix of excitement and worry. He and Chute were the best of friends, bonded over war games as teammates, traversing through countless terrains together. Gao Yang had given Chute the nickname Rabbit for his exceptional ability to run. During one game, Chute, armed with a simple bolt-action rifle, outlasted 6 opponents, including Gao Yang, after the rest of his team was eliminated. Chute's endurance and skill had earned him both admiration and the comical nickname. Chute's unusual given name, easily misconstrued and ridiculed, led him to prefer being called Rabbit. His greatest wish was to be a sniper, but his dream was hindered by severe nearsightedness that prevented him from joining the military, relegating his passion to gaming. Gao Yang knew Chute from when he was still a student from a modest background, saving up for the cheapest bolt-action rifle by subsisting on simple steam buns for months. Gao Yang was torn between wanting the person hiding in the attic to be his dear friend and hoping it wasn't to avoid putting Chute in danger. Observing Gao Yang's restless demeanor, Fedor patted his shoulder, urging him.
You must calm down. Take deep breaths. Don't let your emotions get the better of you, but stay cool.
Gao Yang took several deep breaths to steady himself, nodded to Fedor to signal that he was all right, then scanned the streets on both sides. The streets were deserted, with only the occasional person quickly passing by, and sporadic gunfire sounded off in the distance. After handing the binoculars to Fedor, Gao Yang risked peeking out again to check the shop's front entrance below. 3 bodies lay there along with a discarded gasoline drum, but no guns in sight. Gao Yang withdrew his head, rested the rifle on the parapet, and aimed at the restaurant's stairway entrance. His position was clear, and the aim was comfortable. Gao Yang felt confident that with the correct scope adjustments, he could effectively block the stairway. After a round of observation, Fedor put down the binoculars and whispered,
It's the calm before the storm. Soon this will become the main battlefield. We're too close to the square where the protests are happening and the main streets. That restaurant controls the entire street, and I doubt those mercenaries will give up such a strategic point. Also, see that building opposite the restaurant? You need to watch it. They'll want to take control of it to set up a crossfire position.
Gao Yang took the binoculars and focused on the building opposite the restaurant. Although he couldn't see any movement, he agreed with Fedor's assessment. Anyone with sense would occupy that position to lock down the street with crossfire support from both points. Fedor continued.
You'll need to zero your weapon. It's risky, but with the frequent gunfire, it won't draw much attention. Find a spot near the restaurant to practice, so if you need to save your friend, your shots will be accurate.
Understood.
And he aimed at a billboard advertisement near the restaurant, a large portrait, perfect for zeroing his rifle. After informing Fedor of his target, Gao Yang aimed for the portrait's left eye and fired a shot. Instead of checking the result right away, he quickly reloaded and then used the scope to locate the bullet's impact.
11 o'clock direction, 1 meter off.
Gao Yang adjusted his scope and fired again, coming much closer this time.
11 o'clock direction, 10 centimeters off. Almost there.
On the third shot, Gao Yang hit the left eye of the portrait precisely, with no deviation. To ensure the scope was properly zeroed, he fired 2 more rounds, each hitting dead center. Fedor was impressed with Gao Yang's marksmanship, and Gao Yang himself was immensely satisfied with the precision of the aged rifle. After reloading, Fedor asked seriously,
Do you know what's most important for a sniper?
Gao Yang considered several answers, but after each guess, Fedor shook his head. Eventually, with a grave expression, Fedor declared,
The most important thing is ensuring there isn't a sniper opposite you. If there is, kill him first. A sniper's biggest enemy will always be another sniper.
Gao Yang absorbed this, along with everything else Fedor shared about sniper practices, including wind estimation, range finding, and how to conceal one's position. Although these could be learned from manuals, Fedor's own veteran insights and tricks couldn't be found in books. With no immediate action, Fedor took the time to pass on all his knowledge about sniping to Gao Yang, who soaked up the lessons amid the calm on the rooftop. As Gao Yang listened intently to Fedor's crash course in sniping, Fedor abruptly ceased talking. He had noticed something amiss and raised his binoculars once more. A group of 11 locals armed with weapons, including a machine gun, an RPG, and several AK-47s, appeared around 200 meters from their left, recklessly moving onto the street without any attempt at stealth.
11 men, all locals. They've got 1 machine gun and an RPG. The rest have AK-47s, likely some kind of resistance militia. Damn it, are these fools planning to just march over here and get themselves killed?
Gao Yang saw the group head straight for the restaurant, firing wildly at the door from a distance, not even attempting to aim carefully. The one with the RPG even fired on the run, and though the recoil was minor, he fell over while launching it. The rocket narrowly missed the roof's attic and flew off, disappearing from sight. Gao Yang's heart raced, fearing for a moment that the attic and possibly his friend inside would be blown up by the errant rocket. When the group approached within 100 meters of the restaurant, the mercenaries finally opened fire from the windows. The cluster of hapless assailants was brought down in seconds, none surviving the encounter.
They're all civilians, I even recognize one of them. They're barely taught how to shoot, lacking the most basic training. To run out like that, a sheer disaster.
After that, Fedor pointed to the restaurant rooftop, warning of the likelihood that someone would take position there. As soon as he finished speaking, a man appeared. Gao Yang, already aiming at the stairway out of high tension, reflexively pulled the trigger as a figure with a gun emerged. The shot was true. The man who had just shown up was instantly hit. The assailant collapsed, falling back down the stairway. After firing, Gao Yang realized his mistake. The attackers might have been checking the situation or setting up a firing position without directly threatening Rabbit in the attic. But his shot might have just made Rabbit's situation even more perilous. After firing, Gao Yang rapidly cycled his bolt-action rifle to chamber a new round and kept his eyes glued to the scope. Having fired his shot, he had no other choice but to hold his aim firmly on the stairway leading to the roof.
Good shooting. However, the timing wasn't the best. You should have waited until he fully emerged onto the rooftop before firing and aimed for the chest. It's more important to ensure a hit than a kill.
Understood, but I was too tense and fired without thinking. What now, sir?
Fedor calmly raised his binoculars.
Remember, calm is your ally on the battlefield. Panic and tension will get you killed. The worse things get, the calmer you need to stay. Since the enemy doesn't know your true intentions, it's not as bad as you think. There's an idiot observing from a second-story window for a clock position. Take him out.
Without hesitation, Gao Yang redirected his rifle and saw a man at the second-floor window, using a handgun to part the curtains while peering outside with a walkie-talkie to his mouth. Upon identifying the target, Gao Yang fired. Heeding Fedor's advice this time, his shot struck the man in the chest.
Confirmed kill. Very good. At this distance, a chest shot is lethal. They don't have snipers or artillery support. You're in control now, you are the Reaper.
Gao Yang liked the feeling of control, the ability to harvest the enemy's lives while they could do nothing in return. It gave him a sense of being an arbiter of death. Returning his aim to the stairway, Gao Yang waited, but no one appeared for several minutes.
Sir, they're not coming out anymore. We can't keep waiting like this. Once it gets dark, I'll be at a complete loss.
Fedor chuckled softly.
You need to observe, young man. Think about it, there are now 11 more bodies out there. Those militiamen or resistance, whatever they are, won't give up that easily. When they attack again, that's your chance.
Convinced by Fedor's logic, Gao Yang focused on the stairway, setting aside unnecessary thoughts. Meanwhile, Fedor continued his vigilant search for targets. Not long after, as men began to appear from various corners in the street, Fedor warned.
Prepare yourself. It seems another suicidal charge is about to begin. Ensure the attic is secure, but also watch the windows. The best outcome would be to force the mercenaries to withdraw.
Gao Yang and Fedor were ready, but when the locals didn't charge, Gao Yang wondered if they were gathering more before attacking. But then a barrage of gunfire burst out, leaving Fedor swearing furiously.
F***CK, these idiots. What is this mess? This is not war, this is *T.
Befuddled by Fedor's reaction, Gao Yang turned to see what had upset him. The sight made him want to join Fedor in his swearing. From his rooftop, Gao Yang saw several people at each street corner, firing wildly toward the restaurant, although they were too far away to be effective with their AK-47s. As the futile firing continued, Fedor sighed in resignation.
Forget it, these fools are hopeless. What kind of war is this? They think they can scare the enemy to death with gunfire?
Feeling helpless, Gao Yang was interrupted by Bob, who shouted.
Gao! Gao! Your friend is calling!
Seeing Bob on the rooftop, gesturing for him to take cover, Gao Yang instructed.
Get down! Get down!
Bob crouched and handed the phone to Gao Yang, who took the call with Fedor's approval. Gao Yang, taking a deep breath, said softly.
Dead Rabbit, is that you?
Who are you?
It's Gao Yang.
A familiar voice on the phone exclaimed in surprise, acknowledging Gao Yang and relaying his situation, mentioning enemies mostly armed with AK-47s and a FAL rifle but no heavy weaponry. As they discussed, Fedor suddenly announced an imminent danger.
Danger. Second target point, sniper.
Immediately, Gao Yang threw the phone down, his hand never having left the trigger nor his otoscope. He quickly turned the rifle toward the second target point, the building across the street, prime location for a sniper. Through his scope, Gao Yang saw a gun barrel pointing back at him. Without a second thought, he fired just as he saw the enemy's muzzle flash. In that moment, he thought he was done for. However, Fedor yelled.
Missed. Move.
Gao Yang quickly ducked below the wall, just in time as a bullet whizzed past, gouging the brick above him. Gao Yang, abandoning the exposed position, crawled along with Fedor to a safer spot on the roof. Once settled, Gao Yang picked up the phone again and sotto voce informed Rabbit about the sniper located across from him and cautioned him of escalations at his position. Rabbit's urgent voice came through, proposing a risky distraction tactic they had used in war games. Gao Yang shouted,
No, don't!
but Rabbit proceeded with the countdown. Gao Yang dropped the phone, braced himself, and prepared to support Rabbit's reckless maneuver. He had to sync his shot with Rabbit's dash, a tactic that had proved effective in games but one that now carried fatal risks. As Rabbit counted down to 1, Gao Yang emerged and aimed quickly at the spot where he remembered the window to be. The balance between life and death had never felt so slender, and the stakes could not be higher. Gao Yang executed the transition from aiming to shooting with the swiftest motion he ever managed in his life. Thanks to Chu Ti's successful ruse with the large hammer, which he had cleverly used to mimic a shooting pose, the sniper had been distracted, and his line of sight wasn't on Gao Yang when he took the shot. The sniper's fate was sealed with a bullet to the left eye from Gao Yang. Quickly shifting his aim back to where Chu Ti was, Gao Yang saw his friend, hammer in hand, having successfully fooled the sniper into thinking he was armed. A feeling of relief washed over Gao Yang as he saw Chu Ti still lively and unscathed. However, when Gao Yang returned his focus to the rooftop staircase, he was startled to see someone had made it onto the roof, though, fortunately, this person was unaware of another presence. The individual seemed to be aiming in Gao Yang's direction, and another was just emerging. Recognizing the immediacy of the threat, Gao Yang didn't hesitate to pull the trigger. The man on the rooftop fell backwards as the shot struck, and as Gao Yang quickly worked the bolt of his rifle to fire at the emerging figure, he was shocked to find his gun empty. All 5 rounds had been spent. Gao Yang hurriedly reloaded, his hands trembling with the tension of the moment, but then he heard Fedor's exhilarated shout beside him.
Well done, Rabbit.
Finally, Gao Yang reloaded, re-aimed at the staircase with his scope, and was surprised to see Chu Ti with an AK-47 in his hands, moving and shooting towards the stairway. The brief time had soaked Gao Yang's clothes in cold sweat, leaving him feeling weak and his hands uncontrollably shaking.
What happened?
Rabbit threw his hammer, hit the guy square in the head and knocked him down. I bet the guy's brains are smashed. Then Rabbit picked up a gun and controlled the staircase. That's what happened. A very perfect, very bold cooperation. He has absolute trust in you. You must be long-time comrades, am I right?
Taking a deep breath and wiping the sweat from his eyes, Gao Yang admitted in a soft voice.
Indeed, we are comrades in games.
He swiftly shifted his rifle back towards the building opposite the restaurant. With Chu Ti securing the staircase, Gao Yang's new priority was to cover his friend's back. Gao Yang had made the right choice. At that moment, as he redirected his aim, a machine gun appeared at the window from where he had just eliminated the sniper. The machine gun's proximity to Rabbit was much too close for comfort. Its burst of fire would undoubtedly reach Chu Ti. Luckily, the gunman was just setting up. When the machine gunner braced the weapon on the window and began to pull the charging handle, Gao Yang fired and hit him in the left shoulder. The round did not kill him instantly, but the impact sent the gunman tumbling, and as he fell, he inadvertently fired a burst into the air before dropping alongside his weapon. The uncontrollable machine gun shattered the window panes, and the fallen gunman lay motionless. With no further appearance at the window, Gao Yang began to survey both floors, covering Chu Ti's position from anyone daring to come onto the rooftop or the second-floor windows seeking confrontation. Although Chu Ti was now temporarily safe, escaping the restaurant remained daunting. The opposition forces, though a threat primarily to the air around them, effectively barred Chu Ti's escape route. Gao Yang could eliminate the threats emerging behind Chu Ti, but couldn't secure his complete escape. Similarly, Fedor was at a loss for solutions, and they could only adjust their plans step by step. After about 10 minutes of a tense standoff, with Fedor continuing his vigilant observations without finding a target, the sound of gunfire from the opposition subsided and then stopped altogether. Curiosity drew Fedor to the foreground of the conflict. After peering out, he remarked,
More people have arrived. Are they planning an attack?
Gao Yang quickly joined Fedor and saw a group of about a dozen individuals, a mix of Caucasians and Africans but no local Arabs.
Looks like more mercenaries. Is this not a civil war in Libya, but a war between mercenaries instead?
After Gao Yang expressed his confusion, Bob, who had been lying prone until that point, spoke up softly. conveying disturbing news about the chaotic situation involving mercenaries on all sides and the potential escalation into full-blown war with foreign involvement urging a swift departure. As the mercenaries edged along the wall nearest to the restaurant, preparing to advance without immediate threat of attack, Fedor quietly speculated on the feasibility of an impending assault and mused whether the government and opposition intended to let mercenaries fight their internal war.
I don't care how they plan to fight this war, my only concern is getting Rabbit out of that damned restaurant.
Fedor, shrugging, suggested this might be an opportune moment, especially if they could cooperate with the opposition. Having said that, Fedor, protruding slightly, shouted toward the advancing mercenaries.
Hey, don't shoot. Friendly's here. You've got sniper cover, for are dead inside the restaurant, and the sniper and machine gunner in the opposite building are taken out. You can speed up, but be aware there's one of us on the restaurant rooftop, a Chinese guy. Don't hurt him, he'll help you too.
The mercenaries, startled by Fedor's sudden presence but reassured by his words, gave thumbs-ups and cheeky responses, appreciating sniper cover but not from someone of Fedor's age, joking about him saving for his great-grandchildren's tuition. As the group of 16 mercenaries resumed their advance, 4 of them suddenly surged forward, unleashing intense fire to suppress any shooting from the restaurant, while another 4 rapidly approached the restaurant's front door. As the mercenaries launched their action, a point of fire from the first-floor window across the restaurant answered back. Almost instantly, Gao Yang located and neutralized the shooter. Though Gao Yang had dealt with only 1, other points of fire were also active. Right then, a white mercenary with a machine gun dove onto the street, established a position, and began suppressing fire with a mix of long and short bursts, pinning down the enemy within the building so effectively that Gao Yang found no targets to engage. Eventually, the machine gunner seemed to lighten the suppressive fire on one of the windows, and Gao Yang, quick to understand the unspoken tactic, focused on that window. A moment later, an enemy boldly appeared but was promptly taken out by Gao Yang's well-placed shot. Without any communication, Gao Yang and the machine gunner had coordinated seamlessly, though Gao Yang wondered if it was intentional or mere coincidence. Regardless, he quickly noticed the machine gunner releasing the suppression on another window. Repeating the process, Gao Yang waited for someone to expose themselves at the newly vulnerable window, and when they did, he took the shot, confirming that the machine gunner was deliberately providing these opportunities. Fedor, acknowledging the collaboration between Gao Yang and the machine gunner, whispered,
That machine gunner is truly impressive and bold. He either has complete faith that you'll take a successful shot, or he's very confident he can re-establish suppression if necessary. Given that he doesn't even know you, I believe he trusts in his own abilities to regain control. Excellent machine gunner, excellent teamwork.